This one?
Yes.
Oh, good. Om Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari Tulyannijantargatam Ashannatmani Mayaya Mahivotrutam Yatha Nidraya Yasakshat Kurute Prabodhasame Swatmanamevadvayam Tasmai Shri Guru Muktaye Namahidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Bijasyantaridam Kuro Jagadidam Pramnirvikalpam Punaha Maya Kalpita Reshakal Vaichitra Chitrikritam Maya Vivavidrumbhayatyatimaha Yogi Vayasvachaya Tasmai Shri Guru Muktaye Namahidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Tasmai Shri Guru Muktaye Namahidam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanam Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Kratitam Puranamina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaita-varshini Bhagavati Ashtadashaധ്യായിനി Avadatva-manusandadha Vinavagati-devavadveshini Yam Brahma-varunendra-rudra-manutaha Stunvanti divye-savaihi Vedai-sanga-pada-pramo-panishadaihi Gayanti yam-samagaha Dhyanavasthita tadkritena manasa Pashyanti yam yoginaha Yasyam na vidussuraskaranaha Devaya tasmai namah Devaya tasmai. So we are in 10th chapter and verse number 26. Atha dashamodhyayah Shri Bhagavan Vacha Ashvattha Sarva Vrukshana Devarchinam Cha Naradaha Gandharvanam Chitrarataha Siddhanam Kapilo Munihi. I will give you just an overview of this, the context. Bhagavad Gita is, it has been narrated as a combination of Brahma Vidya and Yoga Shastra. And Brahma Vidya is basically, can be stated in one sentence. That is, you are that Brahma. You are that Krishna. So when you say you are Ishvara, so when I say you, you say I. And looking at I, the immediate meaning of the word I can never be Ishvara. Nobody can accept it. Nobody can accept it. Therefore, this you or the I, the individual, should be analyzed further. How it can be equated with the Ishvara or Brahma, the cause of the world. Same way that Ishvara also should be analyzed, because Ishvara is equated with me. Therefore, this both the words Tat and Tvam. Tvam means you, Tat means Ishvara. That means Ishvara. When they are equated, both the words should be analyzed properly so that we get a meaning by which we can intuit it. So that's called Brahma Vidya. That is one of the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita. That is what everyone wants in life. Even though explicitly we never say that I want to be Ishvara, but at least this one is there. I want to be a big person. Nobody. It has not been taught to you in any university, any school. You should be a big person, beta, beti. No. It's a desire which is innate. It's a natural desire and it should have a solution. If I am born with a certain desire and there is no solution, it's a defect in the creation. Therefore, there should be a solution. To become big, all the way, in terms of name, fame, wealth, all the way, knowledge, I want to become big. 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 There is no boundary. Really speaking, I am telling you, there is no boundary. Anyone who has become big in any one fashion, he still wants to become big. He or she. So everyone wants to be Ishvara, that's for sure. And Vedanta says you are that what you want to become. So therefore we have to understand. If I am that, then why should I become? Right? If I am already that, then I should not become. This what is that I should be analyzed properly. So the Ishvara should be also analyzed properly. That's what the subject matter is. First 6 chapters discusses what is you. Analyze what is you. The very first chapter discusses the Jiva's sorrow, Arjuna's sorrow, individual sorrow. Right? And then the second chapter, then he surrenders. He understands that this sorrow cannot go by any external means. So he surrendered to Lord. So that Lord can teach him. And in second chapter, Bhagavad said, well, you are really, your Sarupa is such that there should not be any sorrow. Generally sorrow from death. And therefore one who is born will die. You take yourself to him who is subject to birth and death, which is not the reality. So in second chapter also talks about the individual's nature, especially verse number 12 to 25 of chapter 2. Najayate, Mriyate, etc. Several things that have been told. Means you take yourself to be a subject to birth and death is an error. That's what it means. So Bhagavan revealed that. Third chapter, of course, Karma Yoga for Jiva only. So what I am saying is, first 6 chapter analyzes you of that equation. You. And so third chapter, Karma Yoga. It's not for Ishvara, it's for individual. Fourth chapter says, well, you are basically not a doer. You think you are a doer and therefore you will have a lot of guilt. I did something which I should not have done. I did not do something which I am supposed to, which I would have done. So a lot of guilt, you need not. May you be guilt-free. Yeah. If you take yourself as a doer, then you will have a sorrow. Yeah. You do something, someone doesn't appreciate, my God. All issues. But I am doer, that's the error. That's the error. If you are the doer and you are subject to sorrow, how will you be equated with the Ishvara? No, Ishvara also, if I am equated with the Ishvara, Ishvara also may be subject to sorrow. Then he is no more Ishvara. He is another Jiva. Maybe bigger and smaller. Being a definition of Ishvara, he should be free from sorrow. Then he should not be a doer. Then I say I am doer. If I am equated with the Ishvara, then definitely to take myself as a doer is error. Could you follow what I am saying? Must be error. I and doership always go together. Never the case. You are there, but doership is not there. It's your own experience. It's an experience of the entire humanity. It's not a special experience that you become free from the worship. Therefore, worship comes and goes. It's really you are by nature, you are not doer. In a deep sleep state, where is worship? Very powerful state. Yeah, very powerful. In fact, almost a human life, half of the human life goes in sleep. Half of the human life. Early years as a child, most of the time sleep. Later also, 10 hours, 8, 12 hours. Right? Therefore, don't talk about deep sleep. No, why should not we talk? It's half of the life. Yeah. Analysis of the 3 states of experiences and come to the proper conclusion is Vedanta. You don't need any extraordinary experiences. You don't need it. Analyze properly, like the science does. Science analyzes the various experiences of you of the world. Experience of the humanities of the sunrise, experience of the humanity of the blue sky, blue ocean, and twinkle stars. All these experiences. Not analyzed, but remains with there. If analyzed with the help of science, then you understand something else. Vedanta also is science. Analyzes experiences properly. Then you find the reality is something which is different from what you take yourself to be. Therefore, it is said, this is a general. All entire humanity says, Swami, I am a doer, I am a doer. Therefore, it is real. No, majority never decides reality. Majority doesn't decide reality. Yeah. Therefore, there is always a difference between an experience and knowledge. Yeah. Always a difference. Proper analysis of the experience results into the knowledge of reality. Anyway, and therefore, the 4th chapter says, you are free from worship. You, the inner self, the Pratyagatma is free from worship. The 5th chapter deals with the Jiva's renunciation. There are 2 types of renunciation. A formal renunciation like this, and there is another renunciation of this doership and etc., by which one becomes free from the karma. This formal renunciation also is a renunciation of karma formally, with the help of Veda sanctions, right? To make this person free from various karmas. Formal renunciation. For what? It's a facility. Formal renunciation is a facility for a person to commit oneself, for a person to commit to the knowledge. See? That may not talks about Nidhyasana, owning up. If you don't own it up, same old habit continues. I am Jiva. In a class, I am Brahman. As I wear the shoes, I am Jiva. You have to own it up. There is an orientation. To take oneself to be individual, even after listening to all these things, gaining certain clarity, but not totally. Certain obstacles are there. Therefore, on part of Jiva, there should be contemplation. That's the 6th chapter. So, the whole 6 chapters talks about the you, the individual, the Jiva. Then the other part is left. So, the Ishvara. So, from 7 to 12 talks about Tatpada Ishvara. Then the nature of Ishvara, the glories of Ishvara, etc. has been narrated. And this 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita talks about glories of Ishvara. So it presents the glories of Ishvara, even though he is basically, all-pervasive, being the efficient cause and the material cause, maker and material, is both. And there are several examples in Upanishad that maker and material can be one. The conscious being with a certain desire to create to make, has a certain skill, knowledge, right, to create. Well, he is an efficient cause. And material also is he. Yeah. From the material standpoint, we call the Ishvara as the Ishvari, Bhagavati. From the standpoint of efficient cause, the maker, we call it he. Therefore, he and she are always a big Nimito Bada. You can see here, right? The left part is he, and the right part is she. Yeah. That's our Ardhanarishvara, Shiva Shakti. And you are like that. You are half he, half she. Really? Yeah, everyone is like that. So far as another creation, not this creation, not waking world. So far as dream world is concerned, you are Ishvara. Your knowledge which manifests in the dream world, from the standpoint of that knowledge, all impressions born of various experiences of life, there is a storage there. And from that storage, in dream, all forms come. So you, from your own knowledge standpoint, is she. So you are she. And from the material standpoint, knowledge standpoint, she. And from the maker standpoint, the conscious being, right? You are a conscious being. You are the making the dream. You are creating the dream. So you are he. Honestly. Maker and material, non-separate. Knowledge is not away from you, the conscious being. It's right there in you, that alone manifest. Same with this word. Ishvara's knowledge manifest. There is no other material. Therefore, anything you analyze, and even this paper you analyze, I tell you, there will be books and books. If you go further into that, what is the material? Then that material is made up of what? And that material that is made up of what? You get an atomic level, subatomic level, particle level. Opens areas of ignorance opens. That shows that this thing is made up of a conscious being who must be omniscient. Because to find out the truth of this, you need so much of knowledge. So therefore, this one, which is a manifestation of the knowledge of Ishvara, must be Sarvajna. Anything in the creation you see, we have not arrived at the final answer of anything, including a leaf, including a photosynthesis. There is no final answer yet. Anything you pick up, it's all put together, giving us a certain purpose. That put together definitely involves knowledge. And that is the knowledge of Ishvara. Ishvara's knowledge alone manifests. From the knowledge standpoint, that Ishvara is called Bhagavati Ishvari. And from the conscious being standpoint, who makes this, maker standpoint, we call it he, Purusha and Prakriti. It's an amazing thing. Therefore, all the forms are his forms. Like all the forms in a dream are your forms. All pervaded by you, the conscious being. They are all revealed in a dream. Therefore, if they are revealed, pervaded by consciousness. So you consciousness, basically the maker consciousness, pervades all the forms. And your knowledge is a form. Therefore, everything is ultimately a manifestation in a dream. Everything is a manifestation of Ishvara, you. Even a thought of the person in a dream person, and he has a thought. That's also you. His senses or her senses, you. Body, you. He talks to someone, that speech is you. My God. But in that dream world, suppose you find some form which catches attention of a person of the dream world. That person says, well, that's a vibhuti of Ishvara. You. Would you follow what I'm saying? Yeah. Same way here. All forms are ultimately forms of Ishvara, but there are some forms where there is an excellence, where there is a ray of glory, which makes you appreciate, which basically makes you appreciate Ishvara. there are places, there are sentient beings, jivas, who have a body. Looking at the body itself, you say, oh my God, what a body it is. The attributes of a figure. Like I always wonder at this macaque. It's a species of a parrot in Brazil. My God, you should look at the colors. And the size also bigger than our Indian parrots. Bigger. And colors. I mean, or looking at the panda also. Looking at certain places. You feel people who will not accept the Ishvara, they will say it is nature. But people like us will always say, wow. And that's how we have places in India, especially certain places. You know the Prayaga. Prayaga means where there is a confluence of rivers. Meaning if you go to Badrinath, the three Prayagas come. Rudra Prayaga, Prana Prayaga, Deva Prayaga. And you should see that confluence of river, my God. Alapnata and Bhagirathi, Mandakini and something, all ultimately become Ganges. But the color of the water is different. And Rudra Prayaga means you cannot. The person who is standing in besides you, he will not be able to, or she will not be able to listen your voice. What a roar it is. But one thing is there, in such places, there is always a temple. Yeah. Because what you see is the glory of Ishvara. That's how in Rameshwaram also, where there is three water bodies, meet, maybe of Bengal and Arabian Sea and Indian Ocean. And each one has a different color. And there also we have a temple, Kanyakumari. So all our temples are also on the hills, either 7 hills of Tirupati, either our Badrinath, either Kedarnath, or even the very mountain itself is worshipped as a Shiva, Kailas. It's all glorious. Anywhere, any glory, where you easily appreciate it as a glory of Ishvara. It's a manifestation of Ishvara ultimately. But you will be able to appreciate. So that's how in this Vibhuti Yoga, Shankaracharya ji, by introducing this chapter, says that in whichever situation, in whichever object, there is some glory, Ishvara is to be contemplated upon and appreciated there. And basically the truth of Ishvara is not easily understood, and therefore, because there was an argument there that in 7th chapter Bhagavan has described few glories. 9th chapter also is said little bit. Then why again 10th chapter full of that? It's a repetition. Yeah, but then because where something is to be understood, Ishvara is to be understood, repetition is a glory. When something is to be believed, repetition is a boredom. If there is a belief, and if I keep on repeating in front of you, you will get bored. But if something is to be understood, then repetition gives more and more clarity. Therefore, Bhashyakara says that this repetition, starting again with the 10th chapter to the glories, even though it has been talked in the 7th chapter and 9th chapter, 8th chapter is a little out. It's a different thing. We don't want to discuss at this time. But here, 10th chapter again, talking about glories, because it is we have to understand Ishvara thoroughly in terms of the entire manifestation, or the very basis of the manifestation, the reality of the entire manifestation, both the ways. And so this 7 to 12 chapter talks about Ishvara. Well, and then very surprisingly, Bhagavan said something which really creates a doubt. He said, in the 10th chapter itself, that I alone am qualified to talk about me. So, he said even these gods and the sages, rishis, they are not fit person to talk about my glories. I alone am qualified to talk about my glories. because I know all of my glories. Whereas gods and sages, they are all part of creation. I am the cause of them. Therefore, they don't know how many manifestations I have. They don't know. So that's how we want to discuss something before we go to the 26th verse. That when Bhagavan says, I alone, I know my glories and I can talk about it, what is that issue? If it is just a Satchidananda, then I am also Satchidananda. Then why Bhagavan, I should take the mic from Ishvara and I should start narrating. But I cannot narrate more than that. That this is Satchidananda, this is Satchidananda, this is Satchidananda. Well, in that there is no ray of glory. When you say ray of glory means in a particular form has a certain excellence. Means the details of a form that I don't know. I am also called Sarvajna, very well. Jnani is called Sarvajna. Because ultimately every form, the truth of every object is Satchidananda. Therefore, that Satchidananda I am. Therefore, I know entire creation, all forms, essentially. That's fine. So that's how the Pratigna was there. Eka Vijnanena Sarvavidam Vijnatam Bhavati. By knowing one thing, you know as to everything. That's true. But details of every form that I know. When Bhagavan talks about the glory of the forms, every form is ultimately the Satchidananda, that's okay. But the form has a certain glory which catches your attention, which makes you appreciate that form as a form of Ishvara. Therefore, when he says, I know my glory and I can talk about it, then what is that Ishvara? Just Satchidananda? No, because I am also Satchidananda and I can talk. No, Swamiji, when he says, I know all the forms and I can talk about it, then definitely one who knows all the forms is a knower. Therefore, as a knower he is saying, not as a Satchidananda. As a knower, he is saying this. Knower means what? Pramana. We generally attribute a knower to a jiva. You are a knower, right? Right now. You are a knower, you are a knower, you are a knower. Everybody is a knower. All jivas, they are all knower of what is there, objectify everything. If Ishvara also is like this kind of knower, then he is a jiva. No, he is talking as a Satchidananda. Then I am also Satchidananda, I can talk about everything, but I don't know any detail about. But Bhagavan says, I know everything in detail. What a given form has an excellence, Bhagavan can say. As a cause of everything. He knows everything. Well, therefore, this seems to be a confusion. So for that we will have to resolve this. If neither a Satchidananda Atma nor a Pramata can be a Sarvajna, because Sarvajna means omniscient. Knower means a jiva who is not omniscient, all of us. Then Ishvara cannot be a knower like us, small knowing. Ishvara as a Satchidananda Atma also cannot talk about it because that is, I can also talk about it. Could you follow what I am saying? Therefore, when he described the excellence in a given form, which is called vibhuti, glory, then he must be knowing all forms in detail also. And definitely there is something which is more than Satchidananda, which is to be there as Ishvara. Could you follow what I am saying? Something is to be there. He is Satchidananda, I am Satchidananda. He is able to describe everything in detail. I am able to describe everything? No. I can say that you are Satchidananda, you are Satchidananda, this is Satchidananda, I am Satchidananda. That's it. More than that, no. True? So therefore, there is something which makes me small knowing, even though I am Satchidananda, and there is something which makes Ishvara, he is also Satchidananda, but which makes Ishvara as a Sarvajna, all-knowing. All-knowing, small-knowing. Both are Satchidananda, no difference. But all-knowing, small-knowing, there is something. Could you follow? Yeah. I think I'm not boring you. You should know this. So therefore, there are two forms. Let's first talk about Jiva. There are two forms for the Jiva. Whether a Deva or a human being or a worm or a monkey, anything. There are two forms. One is we call Vastava Rupam, which is essentially true in the Jiva, any Jiva. There is something which is essentially true which cannot be negated. That is one. And the other is called Adhyasika Rupa, a status or a role assumed by that Jiva. Like that is superimposed upon Satchidananda. Like I will tell you, in an actor person, there are two forms. One is essentially there, which cannot be negated, that is actor. And more than that, there is a superimposed form also of that. Yeah. That is that role, the status which he assumes. Clear? Same way for Jiva also, there is something essentially there which cannot be negated, that is Satchidananda. And more than that, there is something superimposed upon that Jiva which gives me a status of knower. Clear? Essentially, I am Satchidananda, but as a status, as a role, there is something which is superimposed upon Satchidananda, which we call generally in Vedanta as a upadhi, some condition, because of which I, the Jiva, is called knower. You are also Satchidananda, but there is something which is added in you now, superimposed on you, because of which you are a knower. He is also Satchidananda, she is Satchidananda, but there is something which is superimposed, which is added in Satchidananda, because of which you are knower, she is knower, he is knower. Could you follow? And so, and this is true with Ishvara also. Ishvara also two forms. One is Satchidananda, essential. And you have to add something in that Satchidananda, because of which he is a Sarvajna, knower, all knowing. Right? That's what it is. Could you follow? So all of us also have a certain thing, because of which we are all knowers, small knowing, but we are knowers. And he is also knower, all knowing. Something we have to add in the same Satchidananda. Anyway, so between Jiva and Ishvara, well, there is no real difference. So, real difference, because the reality is Satchidananda. Both are essentially Satchidananda. And even the Swarupa of Vastavik Rupam, the reality of even a worm or a monkey or anything is Satchidananda. So, there is no difference there. So, when you say Aham and I say Aham, it is same Satchidananda. So, but the other form, the Adhyasika Rupam, which has a status of being knower, doer, etc. With that, there is a seeming difference. Forget about the difference between Jiva and Ishvara as a small knowing, all knowing, between you and me as a knower. Right? Adhyasika Rupam, there is a difference. You are a knower, I am a knower, there is a difference. Swamiji, I know law. I said I have no knowledge of law. I am knower of chemistry. You say, Swamiji, I have no knowledge of chemistry. There is a difference. So, they both are essentially one, Satchidananda. When you say I say I, same Satchidananda, referring to Satchidananda. But when you say I am a knower, then there is a seeming difference. Why seeming difference? Because what you add into Satchidananda is a seeming thing. And that is what? Buddhi. Anta. Where the knowledge is. Your knowledge of law is where? In Satchidananda or in Buddhi? Buddhi. So that Buddhi, if you add into Satchidananda, but Swami, if we add, then well definitely there is a real addition. There is no real addition. Because you say I am Satchidananda, she Satchidananda, he Satchidananda, this is Satchidananda. What's a what is the boundary of Satchidananda? What is the boundary of Satchidananda? Do you follow what I am saying? What is the boundary? Swami, I am Satchidananda, you are Satchidananda, space is Satchidananda, this is Satchidananda. What's the boundary? There is no boundary. Do you follow? There is no boundary of Satchidananda. That's how Purnamadav Purnamidam. That's how Atma is Ekameva Advitiyam. There is no second thing other than Atma. It's whole. It's a whole. If it is a whole, then what? What is the addition in whole? Please tell me. What is the addition? If there is nothing other than Atma, well then whatever you say, it must be Mithya, non-separate from the Atma. And therefore, in Satchidananda you add Buddhi, that is seeming. The difference between two knowers on account of two Buddhis, same Satchidananda, because that's apparent. Therefore, knower Buddha also is apparent. Seeming difference between him and me. That's at the level of Upadhi. Anyway, so in a Buddhi there is a difference, and therefore between two knowers there is a difference. And so there is a gradation of knowledge. You may say, Swamiji, I know Vedanta. Well, I say I know Vedanta. Swamiji, I know more than you, I have studied a lot. Would be possible. Gradation of knowledge. Or the areas of knowledge for you, areas of knowledge for me is different. So therefore, there is a gradation of knowledge, and therefore knowers have the difference. Not essentially, no numbers. It is similar. Same way between Jiva and Ishvara. At the level of this addition of an Upadhi, there is a difference. Yeah. Therefore, what is the difference, Swamiji? I am a knower and he is also a knower. What I know, he doesn't know. That you should not say. That cannot be. Between two jivas is possible. You can say, I know so and so area, I know so and so subject matter. I can say, I know so and so subject matter. That's fine. But between Jiva and Ishvara, you cannot say what I know, Ishvara doesn't know. No. Because Upadhi is very, very exalted. Very exalted. Anyway, and therefore it's like a student and a teacher. Let's say for physics, quantum physics, let's say. Student knows, right? Few things in quantum physics because teacher taught. So student knows quantum physics, teacher knows quantum physics. Who knows more? What student does? Student knows, teacher knows. What student doesn't know, teacher knows. Like that. Would you follow? Like that, what I know, definitely Ishvara knows. What I don't know, he knows. Because the Upadhi, I have a Buddhi Upadhi which is here, which is limited. He has a different Upadhi. Okay, what is that Upadhi which makes a difference between Jiva and Ishvara? Seemingly, small moving or what is that Upadhi? Well, Jiva is because of we call avidya Upadhi. And that seemingly limits the Satchidananda Atma, the Jiva. Whereas Ishvara has Upadhi called Maya, which does not limit. And therefore, in fact, because of the Maya Upadhi, same Satchidananda is called the cause of the world. Same Satchidananda, now because of the Maya Upadhi, we call Ishvara, becomes a Sarvagnya also. Therefore, this Maya Upadhi, with the Maya Upadhi, Ishvara, this is the first glory of Ishvara, because of which he becomes the cause of the world, because of which he becomes the omniscient, omnipotent. But this Maya is the Avarana Shakti, the concealing power. Because of that, the Jiva, well, same Satchidananda, but with this Avarana Shakti, I do not know. Or what I know is very little, definitely. Ignorance is so high. So for Avarana, for Ishvara, there is such Avarana is not there. With this Upadhi, in fact, he has a capacity to create, and that very Maya which keeps the Jiva under spell, that same Maya becomes a glory for Ishvara. Because Maya is Avarana Shakti, well, I begin my life with, I don't know anything. You are born with ignorance. You are born with this Avarana Shakti, concealing power of the same Maya. But with the same Maya, well, Ishvara creates, becomes omniscient. You follow? So that's the difference. So I have a Vidya Upadhi, he has a Maya Upadhi. Because of which, well, I know, and most of the things I don't know, very little I know. The Maya Upadhi, same Sachidananda, becomes all knowledge. But how do you know all this, Swami? It is all there in the Shastra. We don't discuss it. It is there in the Shastra. Because this should be told by Vedantin, because immediately they say, how can I be Ishvara? He is all-knowing. He is omnipotent. He is the cause of the world. Whereas I am a part of the creation. I am a created being. He is a creator. I am small-knowing. How can you equate? Do you follow? Therefore, we have to say essentially both are Sachidananda. But because of this Mithya Upadhi, because of this apparent Upadhi called Maya or Vidya, there is a seeming difference between these two in terms of a status. I am a small knowing, he is a all knowing. So knower is a status. But the difference between two knowers, me and the Ishvara, small knowing and all knowing, is due to Upadhi. Not, it's a seeming difference, not real difference. Really, both are essentially is Sachidananda. So this is how it has been said. And then Bhagavan started describing. Therefore Bhagavan says, yeah, I am able to describe all my glories. Whatever is a ray of glory is there in any form. Well, and Bhagavan himself says at the end that I will not be able to describe all glories, Therefore, it's very difficult. That's how in one of the verse, there is a Shiva Stotra, in that there is one verse. That, if Sakshat Saraswati starts writing the glories of Sakshat Saraswati, who is Adhishthatri of all knowledges, if she starts writing the glories of Ishvara, she doesn't need this. This kind of a paper is Saraswati. For me, this is okay because I am able to write 10 sentences. But for her, what is the paper, Entire surface of the earth is a paper for her, and she picks up a lekhani, let's say by which you write a pen. Let us say. In those days, they used to take a wooden stick or something. They dip it in a ink, and then they used to write. So, if Saraswati takes the surface of the earth as the paper, and she fills up the ink where she said she has removed all the water from the ocean, Pacific Ocean, and so such a big place. If she fills up with the ink and she makes this lekhani, this pen out of the branches of a tree, of celestial tree. And she starts writing, Sarvakala. Likati Yadish Narada Sarvakala. Tadapi Tava Gunanam Isha Paramaya. She is writing. She has started writing. Beginningless time. She is still writing. Sarvakala. These are the glories. To narrate this kind of glories, well, Jiva is any Jiva who is a part of the creation, maybe a god, maybe a sages, has no capacity. That is how Bhagavan says, I am able to narrate my glories, not even Devatas and not even Rishis. Where is it said something? In the second verse of this chapter. And then Arjuna requests that please let me know, because I want to see your presence. Ishvara is the goal of life. What is the goal of your life? You should at least, all the time in your mind it should be there. If Ishvara is the goal of life, then your whole life is centered on Ishvara. The people who want to become a tennis player, their whole life, including their physical activity, their food and food habits and everything, is in tune with, then they want to become that player. So that is how. So your life should be in tune with Ishvara, which we call Yoga Shastra. You are connected to Ishvara. So seeing while doing Vyavara, transaction with the world, you see the ray of glory somewhere, some excellence, and you immediately remember Ishvara. Therefore, Arjuna requests that please narrate in detail. So Bhagavan starts narrating the glories from verse number 19 to verse number 41. Then he says, this is, I also can't describe fully because it will, so therefore he also stops. But he said, anywhere, any ray of glory you see, anytime, somebody's speaking power, somebody's excellence in terms of analytical ability, somebody's physiological functions, like even a tortoise, they say it inhales, they come out of the surface of the water and takes they breathe in, and then they go in the water, and they will not have to breathe out for a length of time. They can remain there. With whatever the small air they have taken in, they can, what a physiological function. So like that, wherever you see any ray of glory, any excellence, please remember me, it is mine. Because everything is real to me. That's how we started describing. And in that we are right now in verse number 26. I think it's already completed, but we are just seeing. And so it says here, verse 26, Ashvatthah sarva vrukshanam devarshinam cha narada gandharvanam chitraratah siddhanam kapilo munihi. Vrukshana, among all the trees, I am an Ashvatthah, a people tree. They call it as a very ficus tree, etc. So, which is considered very sacred, because Bhagavan describes the whole world in form of a Ashvatha Vriksha. In a Kathopanishad, it has been very beautifully said, it is said, Udvamulaha avakshanaha, Eshaha Ashvatha Sanatanaha. Sanatana, this is a universal people tree, which is eternal. The universe is in the form of a people tree, which is eternal. Like that. And it is Urdhva Mula. Its source is Urdhva, Brahma. So in terms of reality, and the entire, this Jagat, this Mithya, which is giving. And the 15th chapter, you know very well, in Bhagavad Gita, Urdhva Mulam Avakshakam, etc., etc. Adashakam, Ashvatham, Prahu, Apya. So Bhagavan describes the entire Jagat with his own manifestation in form of a Ashvatha tree. And a very big description, I am not going into that, but Bhashyakara has, its derivation is Vrashchanat Vriksha, which can be cut asunder, which can be destroyed is called Vriksha. Asunder. It is understood as a apparent, etc. So therefore, it is Prashatha, you remember me. And there is another thing in a way naturally. It's a small dry twigs of Ashwatha. It's a small dry twigs of Ashwatha. Then it's also in our culture, Indian culture, this tree is worshipped by people who want children. Yeah. So basically, the neem tree that grows near this Ashwatha is considered a wife of Ashwatha. And basically, the people who want the children, they perform the marriage of these two, neem tree and Ashwatha tree, etc. They worship that in order to get a progeny, etc. So they worship this couple, neem tree and Ashwatha. So anyway, so Lord says, among all the trees, I am the Ashwatha. Every part is worshipped of them. In fact, there is one verse which describes that the entire tree is worshipped. So it says, Mulato Brahma Rupaya, Madhyato Vishnu Rupine, Agrataha Shiva Rupaya, Vruksha Rajaya Te Namaha. So, Mulato Brahma Rupaya, the moolam of this Ashwatha tree is a Brahmaji. Madhyato Vishnu Rupine, the middle part of the tree is Vishnu. Agrataha Shiva Rupaya, the top portion is a Shiva. Vruksha Rajaya Te Namaha. So this is the king of all the trees. So Bhagavan says it is my glory. Then further it says, Devarshinam cha Narada. So he talks about rishis. There are two types of rishis. Some rishis means the seers of mantra. Now, as a human being also, there are rishis. Not all human beings are rishis, but in a human being, well, due to their penance and their meditation, they have become one with the Ishvara. That's what even Bhagavan says in this chapter. While talking about the rishis, he said, Maharshaya Saptapurve Chatvaro Manavastatha Badbhavaha Manasa Jataha Yesham Loka Ima Prajaha. So there are Saptarshi, 7 rishis basically. Marichi, Angiras, etc., etc. I'm not going into detail. But the 7 rishis, Bhagavan said they are Madhavaha. Madhavaha means what? Whose mind have resolved into me. They have become one with me. So therefore, once they have become one with me, their minds have resolved into me, I basically reveal a certain knowledge of a Veda to them. So that's how they become the seers of the mantras. Seers of the entire recension of the Veda. Yeah, mantra is not one mantra. It's entire recension, shaka. I'll talk about it. So anyway, so Manushya, in Manushas also who have become like that. Bhagavan said, Manasaha Jataha. They are born of my sankalpas, these 7 rishis, etc. And they have become one with me. They have resolved, their minds are resolved into me. And to such rishis that I reveal certain knowledge of the Veda. That's how they become seers of mantras. So the definition of, the Vyutpatti of the rishis, Rishati Janati iti Rishi. One who knows, basically. So it's Rishi. And same way, there are Devas also, there are some Rishis. Yeah. Not all Devas are Rishis. But there also who are the seers, basically, of the mantras. They are called Devarshis. Bhagavan here talks about Devarshi. Rishis, which are Devatas, but they have a certain excellence in terms of they are able to see the mantras. Now, all human beings are there, but Einstein is considered to be something who is something, more than an ordinary human being can see. Therefore, that way. So, basically, for every mantra we have a Rishi. Yeah. That's how, like the Kathopanishad, what happens in Veda, there are 2 main sections. One is called Mantra Bhaga, other is called a Brahmana Bhaga. So, Artha Smarataha Mantra, where all mantras which are in the form of hymns and which describe the glories of the Devatas. Which Devatas? The Devatas which are invoked in various rituals. So those Devatas have been praised by various hymns. You must have heard of Shri Suktam, Durga Suktam, Agni Suktam, Saraswati Suktam, Bhu Suktam. This is all a mantra bhaga of the Veda. And that is, the other section of the Veda is Karma Vidhayakam Brahmana Bhaga. Well, that is Karma Vidhayakam, which enjoins several rituals, in which you invoke certain Devatas. Those Devatas have been praised by certain Suktas, that's a mantra bhaga. This is how it is. And so, every recension of the Veda is composed, any Veda is composed of basically these 2 sections. Then there is a Aramnika section which is a part of Brahmana, in which most of the Upasana, meditations have been involved. And Upanishad belongs to either a Brahmana Bhaga or either a Mantra Bhaga. Upanishad, so Ishavasya Upanishad is in the Mantra Bhaga of the Shukla Yajurveda. And the other Upanishads basically are in the Brahmana Bhaga. Taittiriya Upanishad is something which is basically has both. Taittiriya Upanishad is in the Brahmana Bhaga of the Taittiriya Brahmana, and but it quotes certain mantra from the Mantra Bhaga. Adapesha Shloko Bhavati, etc. So it is considered Mantra Brahmana Upanishad. But otherwise, most of the Upanishad appears at the end of the Brahmana Bhaga. It is called Veda Anta, end of the Veda, because it obtains the end portion of the Brahmana Bhaga and portion of the Veda. Generally, situation wise. Anyway, and so this entire recension of a mantra, Brahmana, Upanishad and Aranyaka has been seen. Those mantras have been seen by particular Rishi. Therefore, the entire recension is called either Katashaka. That Taitiri, so Tiktiri Rishi has said that. Or Vajasaneka, so Vajasaneka, which is Yagnavalkya, etc. So this is how recensions, various recensions, they have been compiled by Vyasacharya. But those recensions are basically, there are seers which are published, seers of those mantras. That's called. So anyway, this is enough. Bhagavan says, Devarshinam Narada. Among all the rishis are which are in the as a deva, I am a Narada, because Narada ji has been obtained in all Puranas. He has an entry anywhere, in any loka. He doesn't need a H1B and etc. He has a free entry, global entry, we can say. A different global entry. Yeah. He could go to a residence of a Bhagavan also. He can just go inside. Nobody can stop them. No security people can stop them. And he had a lot of glories. Narada was a great bhakta also. And in India, whenever they worship, in morning they used to remember some bhaktas. So first name they will say of the Prahlada we'll be talking about. The second name they will say of Narada. Then Parashara, etc. So there is a verse which remembers all the bhaktas or people in morning prayers. They chant that. First name appears is Prahlada, second name Narada. Great bhakta. And our sage Vishanta, he is also seer of the Gayatri mantra, most popular in all the Vedas, Gayatri. He is of course a meter, but it's a mantra where you invoke the brilliance of Lord Shiva in order to make your intellect brilliant. You know that. Anyway, so Bhagavan says the greatness enjoyed by Narada is ultimately, it's my glory. And Gandharvanam Chitrartha, I will just finish and then we'll have a break. Gandharvanam Chitrartha. This Gandharva Yoni is a special Yoni. In the Taittiriya Upanishad, Bhartikam Sureshwaracharya ji talks about it. What is this Gandharva Yoni? Because there in Ananda Mimamsa, in Taittiriya Upanishad it comes. So Manusha Gandharva, etc. And Manusha Gandharva, Deva Gandharva. So gradation of Ananda, etc. So there he says, what is this Gandharva? He says, Sugandhinaha Kamarupaha Antardhanadi Shaktayaha Nritya Gitadi Kushalaha Gandharvaha Siru Drulaukikaha. There is a lot of fragrance, around them. They have a body which has a lot of fragrance around them without applying any perfumes, etc. Okay. Then Kamarupaha, they are very passionate about their pursuits. Then Antardhanadi Shaktaya, they have a power of appearing and disappearing as they will. And Nritya Gitadi Kushalaha, they are very experts in dance and music. So here also you find, in Manushya also you find, there are people who are total, their whole life is committed to a given art. Like a But this is special yoga. They have a better body compared to a human being. So, Gandharvana, Bhagavan says Chitrartha. Well, there are different celestial beings. Well, among them, I am Chitrartha. Chitrartha is the one who was one of the son of a Kashyapa. Kashyapa Prajapati has 16 sons. One of them was a Chitrartha, who was a king of Gandharva. So Bhagavan says, Gandharvana Chitrartha, I am a king of all the Gandharvas. The crown of the king is me. The power and pomp of the king is me. That's what Bhagavan says. That's what we have to see. And lastly, Siddhanam Tapino. All the Siddhas. Siddhas means the people who are accomplished from the birth. They have certain siddhis. Like Hanumanji and Amala. This is just an example. Hanumanji cannot be brought here. But Ashta Siddhi Namanidhi Kedata. So, Anima, Garima, there are several siddhis have been talked about. Several powers, extraordinary powers. Well, so those kind of powers people possess from the birth. Due to they had penance and meditations in the previous lives, etc. So those, they are called Siddha. In that, I am Kapila. Because Bhagavad Purana talks about this Kapila Rishi. He in fact gave a Brahma Vidya when he was a child. This Kapila Rishi, when he was a child, he gave a Brahma Vidya to his mother called Devahuti. Was a very accomplished person. Therefore, Bhagavan says, I am Kapila among all accomplished. Okay, we'll stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. So we'll meet at 11:30, 11:35.